The air in the old house was thick with the musty scent of age, the kind that seemed to seep from the very walls, wrapping around me like a heavy blanket. I sat huddled in the darkness of my closet, my breath shallow, the faint rustle of the old wooden house settling around me punctuating the quiet. It was an unsettling symphony of creaks and groans, a reminder of the years it had stood and of the memories it held. The slivers of light that snuck through the cracks of the closet door illuminated the dust motes dancing in the air, each tiny particle swirling in a slow, lazy manner, like a forgotten thought. I could hear my heart pounding in my ears, a frantic drumbeat echoing the childhood fear of monsters lurking in the shadows. Only this time the monster was not a figment of my imagination. It was flesh and blood, or rather, a semblance of it. My stepfather, or what remained of him. At 23, I had envisioned a different life, one filled with laughter, friends, and an apartment of my own. An independent life. But here I was, back in my childhood home, the echoes of my mother's laughter long faded, and my stepfather's presence morphing into something unrecognizable. I had come home to help, to ease the burden of his loneliness after her death, but the arrangement had turned into a twisted game that I never signed up for. My thoughts wandered back to the day it all began. The day my stepfather had gone to fix that leaky pipe in the basement. The sun had been shining then, pouring through the kitchen window, illuminating the dust on the countertops. I had watched him, the man who once filled our home with warmth, now a shadow of himself, grizzled, tired, hunched over. I had offered to help, but he had waved me off, that familiar gruffness in his voice. "Still got some use in these old hands," he had said, a phrase that now hung in the air like a ghost, a premonition of the storm to come. Hours passed, and when he emerged, he was different. The dirt on his hands seemed to glow with a new vitality, and a grin stretched across his face, a grin I hadn't seen in years. That night, he cooked breakfast, bacon and eggs, the smell wafting through the house, a nostalgic aroma that tugged at my heartstrings. I had smiled, thinking perhaps he was finding joy again, reclaiming life after the heavy blanket of grief. But as the days turned into weeks, that joy twisted, warped into something sinister. Each time I attempted to leave for the outside world, he would summon some ailment, his back, his chest, his stomach. The excuses became elaborate, the worry in his eyes palpable, as if the very idea of solitude was enough to unravel him. I felt trapped, my life slipping through my fingers like sand, and yet every time I confronted him, his sorrowful gaze would disarm me. The days turned into a cycle of tension and unease, a dance of avoidance and manipulation. I would find him in the garden, tending to the flowers, his hands moving with a dexterity I hadn't seen since before my mother's passing. He was a whirlwind of activity, the house humming with a life that felt foreign. It was as if he had traded his grief for something darker, something that thrived in the shadows. That bright afternoon, as I sat on the steps watching him, the sunlight glittering off the dew on the grass, I noticed something strange. In the brilliance of the sun, he cast no shadow. The realization hit me like ice water. I blinked, and the world around me felt suddenly distorted, the colors too bright, the air too thick. I watched him, my heart racing as he moved, always skirting the edges of the shade, avoiding the light as if it were a poison. My thoughts spiraled into a frenzy of confusion and dread. What was happening to him, to us? I could feel the walls closing in, the house whispering secrets I couldn't comprehend. My attempts to escape the suffocating grip of my stepfather's newfound energy were met with feigned illnesses and desperate pleas. Each time I was about to break free, he'd pull me back in, the manipulations becoming more frantic, more blatant. Then came the night I decided to confront him. The darkness of the living room enveloped us as I brought forth my worries, my fears spilling out like a torrent. He listened, his face a mask of calm, but I saw the flicker of something else in his eyes, a darkness that sent chills down my spine. "I just need you here," he had whispered, and in that moment I felt the weight of his words, the gravity of his loneliness pressing down on me. But the truth was buried deeper than I wanted to acknowledge. It was in the basement, the place where he had fixed that pipe, where life had shifted in ways I couldn't comprehend. I sensed it, a cold dread, a gnawing feeling that something terrible had transpired in the depths of our home. So in the stillness of the night, I ventured down to the basement, armed with a flashlight and a heart full of fear. The air grew colder as I descended the stairs, the dampness clinging to my skin, the smell of earth and decay suffocating. My heart raced as I approached the back wall, where the remnants of his work lay scattered. The dirt was loose, fresh, and my hands trembled as I dug, the trowel scraping against the earth, each thrust revealing a truth I was not ready to face. When I uncovered him, my stepfather lying in a shallow grave, the world shattered around me. The horror of the moment was eclipsed only by the realization that the man I had been living with, the one who smiled and cooked breakfast, was not my stepfather. He was something else, something dark and twisted, a reflection of the love and grief that had been transformed into a shadow. And then he appeared at the top of the stairs, that smiling specter, the embodiment of my stepfather's love twisted into something unrecognizable. His voice was smooth, devoid of the gravel that had once defined it, and as he spoke, I felt the icy grip of despair wrap around my heart. He was here, not to harm me, but to take care of me, to fulfill a promise made in the depths of despair. I can hear him now, the soft padding of his footsteps echoing down the hall, the sound a chilling reminder that I was not alone. He calls my name, a sound so familiar, so haunting. I sit in my closet, the darkness closing in around me like the embrace of a lover, knowing that I am forever bound to this thing masquerading as my stepfather. The closet door is locked, but I know it won't keep him out. He will always find me, lurking in the shadows, waiting to care for me, to love me forever.